What were we talking about? That we said we should be recording?
Dead wives?
Recording Dead Wives?
No. I was lecturing you about how movies work. See, it's funny because you have a degree that's closer to movie making than mine is.
Oh, there's no such degree. You can't get one of those.
I'm pretty sure the University of Southern California would argue that point.
No. That's where people go to learn how to raise the taters.
We are horribly stereotyping states, but I think that's what Idaho does.
No. Yes, Weird Al did teach me that. You're right. Absolutely.
You took a trip to Idaho just to watch potatoes
grow. I understand how you must feel. I can't deny they have
appeal.
There you go. All right. Welcome to Bonehead.
You want me to keep going, Chad? You look like you need more, Chad.
I haven't heard that song in forever. It's just
like
Yoda instead of Lola. I actually know the lyrics to Yoda so much. I just know them, and I do not know all the words to Lola. And I know that Yoda is a ripoff of Lola. Anyway.
I was sleeping with my eyes open. What's going on?
I thought he was going to say you're sleeping with somebody.
Nah. Weird Al also has that song called Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White.
Yep.
Never heard that.
Hey! This is Bonehead Weekly. We're very glad that you stopped by. We will go ahead and get started.
But don't actually stop by.
Our whole episode about Vanna White. What'd you say?
Don't actually stop by. We're very private people.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that made-for-TV movie where she played a Greek goddess.
Sure.
It's called Wheel of Fortune, Chad.
No! Crap. Now I got to look it up.
Yeah. Those are actual sponsors. She's not making those prizes appear out of thin air and that money.
Do you ever think that she gets upset that, like, she used to?
No, she can't. The plastic surgery won't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
She used to have an actual physical job. Now, kids, when I was little, the letters actually turned. Now they don't. She just touches them and it's a computer screen.
Did you have to walk uphill both ways to school, sir?
Think about that.
Were you under?
Like, literally, now her only job is
clearly not undernourished now.
And that made-for-TV movie, by the way, it's a little on the nose. Goddess of Love. The god Zeus sends Venus, the goddess of love, to Earth to find her own true love.
Probably enough, it was going to be called, I don't know, Hell on Earth. And they just went
her true love was apparently David Naughton.
Hey, David Naughton. What happened to him? I met him once at Scarefest. I think I met him at the first Scarefest. But I did not pay for him to sign my American Werewolf in London. You know what? I may not have owned my American Werewolf in London poster at that time.
That's fascinating.
No,
this is a great segue into this story. By the way, for the 4 years,
Vanna White and his going on about, she used to have to flip the letters, but she doesn't anymore.
Well, I'm just saying, it used to be work. You used to do. Now she's just a showcase person. You might as well be one of the Barker's beauties.
Anyway, so today's topic, gentlemen, is love songs.
What?
Well, there's some in there probably.
I heard in a love song, an old-fashioned love song, coming down in 3-part harmony.
No. The theme of today. See, it's a theme, Chad. See where I'm setting up the theme of today.
You're going to write
television. Is television theme songs.
Oh.
Theme songs that played on television series that sometimes are better than the television series they played upon.
Yes, several cases that's true.
And by the way, can we all agree that none of us picked the I can't do it. The Friends theme song. I'm sorry.
Oh, I literally thought about that because, of course,
that's the Rembrandt.
Yeah, the Rembrandt.
There you go, Chad. Joe got it. I thought about it, but to be honest,
I really nailed it. I'm not. I actually was. I was not
Rembrandt.
sure that was who it was.
No, it's the Rembrandt.
I thought about it.
Were they a one-hit wonder?
Yes.
No, I've got their greatest hits. It's that song played at different speeds. Anyway, and this time instead of clapping, we'll snap.
You will now kill people.
By the way, this is going to be. By the way, what I just tried to do with Friends is going to be each of us for this entire episode. We're going to just try to hum the theme song and not get anywhere near close to what the song actually is.
Oh, I was going to do dramatic words, spoken word.
I can't. There's one of mine I cannot do.
Yeah,
but I was going to say the reason I didn't do that because of who I'm married to. You would think that would have been forced upon my list and my free will would have been gone. But
a lot of things have been forced upon you.
To me, that's that outside of its purpose in that show. Like I never think, oh, that's got a cool sound to it. It's I'm gonna spawn haters here. Much like the show itself, it is very generic.
Yeah.
Yep.
They all lived in New York. There wasn't a lot of diversity. They always had access to that same table in the restaurant. I mean, and yes, I know Die Hard fans. There's a little sign that says reserved on it. But have you ever been to New York? Does anybody pay attention to those signs? No, they don't. So anyway,
they're too busy watching that rat eat that pizza.
Oh man, that rat! Why don't he have a theme song? I'd
Why
buy
don't we
that.
have a show
I'd buy
about
that
that
for
rat. He's just trying to survive in the city. A rat in the city.
Yeah.
Coming this fall.
He's probably
on.
dead.
Oh my
now.
God! If you would, it's a pizza pie. It can be the pizza pie rat. He's a pie
And with that, who wants to go first?
pie rat in the city.
I guess I'll go
Love
first.
you.
Because my first one's a little on the nose, but when we were talking about best theme songs, I couldn't pass it up. Because, life is like a hurricane. Here in Duckburg, race cars, lasers, airplanes, it's a duck blur. And that's all I'm going to sing because I don't want Disney to sue.
That song has one
Or
of the
rewrite
best.
history.
Might solve a mystery or rewrite
Rewrite
history.
history.
Oh no, I
Jesus.
skipped the line.
Oh, so now it's a parody and we're covered. No, the
So what
thing about
show's it from? Tailspin?
DuckTales,
Tailspin, yeah.
which
Tailspin.
Tailspins has a good theme song, did not make my list.
No, well, I was going to say DuckTales and Darkwing Duck are the two best theme songs. No offense meant to Rescue Rangers, but my kids watched.
What about
the first episode of
Tailspin?
I appreciate Tailspin more. Rescue Rangers to me has the weakest theme of that Disney afternoon.
Oh, I disagree, sir.
All those Disney cartoons have pretty good. I mean, Gummy Bears had a good one.
And
They're bouncing here and there and everywhere.
honestly, every Disney theme song was great. Even Gargoyles had a good theme. It was all instrumental. But no, and I want to let me get into some facts about DuckTales before we discuss it too. So it was written by Mark Mueller and sung by Jeff Bassetto. And by the way, Mark Mueller also wrote the theme songs for Darkwing and Chippendales. And the reason why I talked about this one first is there's an amazing article that goes really in depth about the history of the DuckTales theme song, and why it's so why there's certain tunes in it that make it so popular. It's by Vanity Fair. They actually call this song the history's catchiest 1 minute of music, and most of the facts that I'm reading are from this article. So Mark was actually a struggling songwriter who wrote and directed the initial run of the who wrote the initials. He wrote the song in 45 minutes. That's all it took him to write it. And he was in his walk-up apartment. He recorded the initial recording on a Roland Juno 1 synthesizer and a simple reel-to-reel tape recorder, which he submitted to Disney. Before that, he was a somewhat successful songwriter. He wrote songs for George Benson, Lou Rawls, the Pointer Sisters, and James' favorite band, Captain and Tennille.
Muskrat Love, Chad.
Yeah, Muskrat Susie, man,
Love.
and Muskrat Sam. But no, and what got him this job to write this theme song, and he was one of many who wrote this theme, wrote a theme song for DuckTales, was he actually wrote the song for Heart's Nothing at All.
It was nothing at all?
Yep. Do you know how much he was, and what kills me more than anything is, how iconic this song is, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the fact that if you know Disney and you literally hear anybody go, woo, you're going to fall into that song.
I think that's the quintessential one for that time.
Do you know how much he was paid for to write and produce this song?
$50.
$1,250.
Yeah, Disney is notorious for not paying people.
Right. And to this day, there are 362,000 results on YouTube for the DuckTales theme song. And most of those are dedicated to some kind of parody of the DuckTales theme song. Like there's a whole theme song dedicated to duct tape in the tune of DuckTales, or various fan interpretations. The show has aired in more than 100 countries, and the theme song has been interpreted in 25 different languages. The only time where they chose not to use the theme song was in Korea, and they changed it to this horrible song, and Korea actually decided to put the theme song back in shortly after it got released in the country.
Was there the cover that they or the song they used instead called "Watch This North American Capitalist Crap"? Because if it was, it would be an accurate thing. And I love DuckTales, but that would be.
I'm assuming when they wrote Korea, I'm assuming they were referring to South Korea. I don't imagine North Korea actually letting the public view DuckTales.
Well, they did. It was just, the creation of their own country, and they just scrubbed out anything American.
Because if anybody was they might of a capitalist dog, it would be Scrooge McDuck.
Oh my God, no! It would be Goofy. Disney. Goofy is the ultimate capitalist dog. You heard it here first.
What about Walt? Nothing?
No. Work on that one. Anyway, no. So I had to go on the nose for my first one just because DuckTales is so iconic. And I struggled with, because I disagree with James, I love Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers theme song, but I love Darkwing Duck even more. And it was between the three as to which Disney theme song I was going to pick. But when you think of theme songs from our childhood and from the 80s and from cartoons in general, DuckTales is by far. I mean, the cast of the new series did an amazing interpretation of it with David Tennant and everybody else who's on that show.
But they don't do it for the show, do they?
No, they did it. They did this.
Oh, no. But they have a new recording for the show.
But they just threw it away. Yeah, right.
It was a promotional gimmick to get people to start watching the new cartoon,
which is pretty good, by the way. If you've not watched the new cartoon, it's still a lot of fun.
I've watched a couple episodes of it.
By the way, Chad, which is your least favorite then? Because, like I said, I'm not saying it's terrible, but Chip 'n Dale's is my least favorite.
Man, that's the problem. I have a hard time with it. Like, I was originally going to say Tailspins was my least favorite, but really? I watched it recently with the girls.
Yeah,
and man, it's amazing.
It's got a good little team.
Yeah. So
it tries to emulate. I think Tailspin gets the closest to trying to emulate and doesn't succeed as well to DuckTales, because it does have the part. Like it has it has a hook there, but it just doesn't work as well as woo. I literally have put more thought into this than I've put into anything in the last week.
Yeah, this is going longer than I thought it would.
And I can't pick Gargoyles simply for the fact that Gargoyles, if I had to pick one, I'd pick Gummy Bears. There you go.
Yeah, by the way,
that's your least favorite?
That's my least favorite.
Really? That's compared to all, too. That's his kid.
But no, I still love it. But James is asking me to pick my least favorite.
I can remember that one, but I couldn't remember Chip 'n Dale's one.
Oh, see, I can. So
Chip and
Dale Rescue Rangers. So that's my first pick. Who's got the next one, guys?
Well, I'll go with next because I have an iconic one too. I don't know. Use the word struggle on this show, and that's kind of bullshit. Nothing we do on here is really struggling, but it's on the nose. It's one that everybody knows. It's a really easy one, and I didn't want to put it on the list because everybody knows it, and some people hate it and some people love it, but it shaped my childhood, and it's Scooby-Doo. Where are you? We got some work to do now. It shaped who I am. It's something that I watched and loved growing up. We got some work to do now. Where are you now? Hold on. Where are you? I fucked it up. Come on, Scooby-Doo. I see you.
No. Screw up an iconic thing. That's fine.
The way you shake and shiver. I enjoyed Scooby quite a bit. I probably didn't stop enjoying Scooby till I was in my teens. I would still watch it at home. It is iconic. It was, hold on. I need to give you all who wrote it. I am so sorry. I had it pulled up right here just a second ago, and then it totally went away. It was written by Ted Nichols, and the theme was used for the opening credits and under the title cards for the premiere episode of What a Night for a Night. The closing theme for the first show is more familiar theme song shown above, written by David Mook and Bill Raleigh and recorded by Mook 3 days after the show's September 3rd broadcast premiere. After Nicole's theme was used as both the opening and closing theme of the second broadcast episode, A Clue for Scooby-Doo, the show's official theme song became the permanent opening credits theme and was also heard during the closing credits on all but 3 episodes, Hassle in the Castle, Which Witch is Which, and A Night of Fright is No Delight. These episodes use Ted Nichols' original instrumental theme, which was unheard for many years until the show's resurrection on USA's, what are we going to say?
Cartoon
Express in 1990. That's right. It was also heard during its run on the Cartoon Network until Turner decided to remaster all the episodes in 98.
By the way,
Actually,
I want to
DVD
say
releases of season 1 do not include the Nichols opening theme on episode 1. Nichols' original theme is, however, heard under the title card for each episode of both this and the follow-up series, the new Scooby-Doo movies, and is very prominently used as a background score for most Scooby-Doo episodes.
I want to say for the record, though, as far as
By the way, a lot of that came from fandom.com. We always need to give credit where credit's due because I didn't know who wrote it. But I mean, I think most people of my age can sing a little bit of the Scooby song, right?
Well, I was going to say, I think Scooby-Doo is a character that in some ways is the closest you have to a second generation of Looney Tunes in that it has never went away. Like Jabberjaw, no offense,
and they keep reinterpreting it.
But yeah, Scoob, my
I
kids
don't like Jabberjaw.
I was trying to think of some.
Jerkwad.
There's a ton of Hanna-Barbera cartoons that have kind of died away, and Scooby-Doo one. And what I was getting at is that
what you say, Speed Buggy isn't as relevant today
because nobody drives speed buggies anymore.
Or goes to the beach.
Nobody goes to the beach unless they want the Rona.
Unless they want the Rona, that's the truth.
Anyway, what I was going to say, though, is I was thinking after you said that, because I never thought about Scooby-Doo making my list, but I just wanted to say for the record, kids, that I think every version of Scooby-Doo has at least in some way has a theme song that does indeed, as the kids say, slaps. Like there is something about every Scooby-Doo, because I was saying about the pup named Scooby-Doo, which however you feel about that show, which I thought was funny because it breaks the fourth wall all the time. But the theme song for that I remember. So there's something about the Scooby-Doo themes. Whoever they have that does updates it, even the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo works, and that's because it's narrated by Vincent Price.
Shocker. I'm not going to go into all the rest of them because I have absolutely no idea and can't talk about it. I'm sure that.
But no, I was just saying there's something about that. There's something about the way they've handled the music for that. But then again, music was always a big part of Scooby-Doo, right?
Music was always a big, even with the guest stars, it was often musicians. If it wasn't Jerry Reed,
Mama Cass,
and the Monkees do one too.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Or am I imagining that?
But isn't the music constantly playing in the background? They're never not playing music on Scooby-Doo.
On the radio, when they're in the Mystery Machine, a lot of times when they're driving.
They're always listening to the radio. They're often dancing on the beach or wherever they're at right before the mystery happens.
Yeah, but even when they're walking through like the haunted house or the haunted playground or the haunted toilet,
it's usually up tempo.
It's usually some kind of it's kind of up to speak. They never stop playing music on Scooby-Doo. So yeah, it was pretty detrimental to the Scooby-Doo universe, in my opinion. And I don't know.
Did you say detrimental?
Detrimental?
Don't you mean essential?
Essential.
Detrimental means bad.
Sorry.
I was trying to figure out what he meant too. I was like, did he hate the music on Scooby-Doo?
I was going to say, God, he just smacked down Little Mary Sunshine.
Other than the theme song, I don't care for any of the music on Scooby-Doo. But
I mean, Scooby-Doo, the theme song.
I didn't mean to say detrimental. Sorry.
Will always have a place in my heart. I actually would like to introduce my kid to it a little bit, but it's not really. You can watch basically mashups on YouTube, but unless you have, it's not Cartoon Network. What's the other one? What's it called? Boomerang. Unless you have to subscribe to Boomerang before you can watch a lot of that stuff on demand. Otherwise, you kind of have to buy the Blu-ray DVDs of it. You would think it was easily accessible on the streaming service. It's not. You have to pay for it.
Huh. We have a ton of them on DVD.
Yeah, I don't.
And Blu-ray. Just because of my kids.
Now,
you need to start him, though, with the best one ever that has some, once again, slapping music, folks. And that is, of course, Scooby-Doo Meets Kiss.
You know what Scooby-Doo is better
than? Way better than it has any right to be. If you've not seen Scooby-Doo Meets Kiss.
I loved all those Scooby-Doo mashup movies.
Oh, my.
I mean,
the
Jonathan Winters.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I loved them.
The movie that they did. Oh, Jerry Van Dyke did one. And the only thing I remember about that episode.
Jerry Reed's may be the best, though.
The only thing I remember about the Jerry Van Dyke episode, Scooby-Doo Meets Jerry Van Dyke, is at the end he's teaching Shaggy how to do different calisthenics and work out. And he just ends the episode by saying, okay, here's the best exercise you can do. First, I want you to lift your left leg up. Then I want you to lift your right leg up. And see, Joe, what happens then is there's no legs on the ground and he falls. That's Jerry Van Dyke.
He does not fall immediately.
No, he hangs for a second.
There's applause. Right.
And then did he hop in his mother and drive away?
That is an obscure reference that most people aren't going to get, but God bless you, sir, for making it.
You're welcome.
I didn't get it.
My Mother the Car. He starred in My Mother the Car.
I've never seen it.
How did you get out of the holler without seeing My Mother the Car?
I still have never seen The Sound of Music, but somehow or another saw all of Verhoeven's Dutch films by the time I was 19.
No, they made us
watch Verhoeven's American films. No. We're talking like The Fourth Man, Spetter, Soldier of Orange.
They made us watch Sound of Music in school, probably while our teacher was sipping scotch underneath her desk.
I thought you were going to say something else underneath her desk.
No. James, what's your pick?
I actually picked theme songs that I would listen to without the show. And one of them that I have bought, I actually bought on CD when it was released because I do think it. But what's interesting about it is it was written by the show's creator and performed by Sonny Landham. No, performed by Sonny Rhodes. Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care, I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me. The theme from Firefly. I don't care what's going on. I don't an episode, and I love Firefly. But
James, I got it.
The selection of that song and having Sonny Rhodes perform it. Sonny Rhodes is a blues musician. And if you've not heard the full song, there's extra choruses, obviously.
Yeah.
But Take Me Out to the Black, Tell 'Em I'm Not Coming Back. Like, if you listen to the full song, it is very much a blues song, but it works so well for that show. It has that country blues feeling, but I can't imagine Firefly with any other song.
That didn't even make my list. That's one of my favorites. I didn't even think about it. So kudos, James.
I literally, like I said, as we were doing this, I was like, man, because 80s themes kept popping up in my head. I'm like, man, if we're doing one on TV themes, though, I can't let. And Sonny Rhodes, if you've never heard of Sonny Rhodes is huge in Europe. Still performs, I believe. He's huge in Europe, not as huge in America, though he should be. But he's still performing the blues and all of that stuff. Firefly, the use of the blues in that is just, it's perfect for what that show is. And so,
I like the song, but I don't know that I'd listen to it without the show.
Oh, I think if you hear the full version, it's very much, and I love the blues. I don't know if you're a big blues fan, so I've got B.B. King CDs and stuff. Now, CDs, kids, but
I thought he was about to educate me about B.B. King. For a split second, I was like, listen, bitch, I was 10 rows ahead of you for B.B.
I love, actually, B.B. King has one. Have you seen the documentary about B.B. King? We're sidetracking, but I don't care. The B.B. King documentary where he talks about he fled basically the sharecropper farm because he wanted to go perform downtown.
I haven't seen it, that particular one.
He finished very quickly, and I guess he was a teenager at the time. He finished very quickly because he used to play on the corner in New Orleans and just get quarters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted to finish. He literally jumped off the tractor he was working on and to go and perform because he could make money performing, but he had to basically sharecropper. He had to make sure his family had a place to live. And he was in such a hurry, he forgot to make sure the tractor fully stopped. And the tractor went straight on and rammed something. And he said, and that's when I stopped sharecropping because I didn't go back. And he went back years later, and of course, the owner of the farm that he was working on said, "You still have to work off that tractor." It's a great story. If you get a chance, I forget the name of the documentary, but it's hosted. They take him back to where it was, and now it's just a field. And he retells all the stories.
Wasn't it a field when he was working in it with a tractor to begin with?
Well, no, the entire area, the farm and everything's gone now. It's just vacant fields.
James, this is a wonderful story, but I got some bad news for you.
What?
The thrill is gone. Sorry.
Who's up next?
I've been downhearted, Chad. Ever since the day we met. Our love is nothing but the blues. Tell me
All
how
right.
blue can you get?
So my next one is mostly instrumental, but it does have some lyrics at the beginning. But it is quintessential, in my opinion, when you think of theme songs. And it wouldn't have been available if a crack commando unit wasn't sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit.
Are you
I
talking
love
about
it when a
Matlock?
plan comes together.
Matlock
Matlock.
Dynasty.
So if you should happen to find them, you yourself can hire the A-Team.
Didn't you just send a text about your hatred of guns no more than 3 hours ago?
But when it's at the beginning of the A-Team's theme song, all is forgiven.
So go ahead, do it.
What?
Dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun, dun.
You know, they,
Dun,
had
dun,
another,
dun, dun.
they
dun,
also
dun,
had
dun,
a song they
dun.
used during the show, which I think was called Putting It Together, which was usually the song that played when they were doing their plan.
When they
Oh,
were
yeah,
putting it together.
Yeah. When the plan came together and they were putting together, when they were MacGyvering the whole plan.
Because I used to know a guy, I actually still know him. I haven't seen him in years, but he could play the Putting It Together song on guitar. And I was always like, wait, out of all the songs to learn, you were like, no. Teach me the A-Team Putting It Together song.
But, you know, when I did research on it, there are some interesting, so it was composed by two people, Mike Post and Pete Carpenter. They together combined as a team, they also did Magnum PI, Law and Order, and Quantum Leap. They actually
Quantum Leap?
Mike Post actually had a pretty successful career as a producer of music. He produced Kenny Rogers' first 3 albums, were his rock/country group, The First Edition.
Yep.
He also produced Dolly Parton's albums for 9 to 5 and Odd Jobs.
Really quick, I
but
just
he teamed
stopped
up with
by
John
to see
Carpenter.
what condition
Yeah.
my condition was in.
Then,
I always wanted the first edition to have to fight the 5th dimension.
what about the new edition?
Nobody cares about them.
Nobody
First
gives two shits about the
First
new
edition versus 5th dimension could have been a battle of the bands. Could have happened, didn't.
Didn't
We all
happen.
missed out.
And now
No
Kenny
matter
Rogers
who
is dead.
wins, we lose.
But anyway, so he teamed up with Peter Carpenter in 1973, and they actually composed their first composition job was the theme song to the Rockford Files. I cannot talk.
Oh, that's actually, I love the Rockford Files. Rockford Files doesn't get enough credit for being one of the first show, or one of the earliest shows I know of, that the beginning had something different every episode, where it was his answering machine.
Yep.
And sometimes it was his father leaving a message. Sometimes, but they were all, and sometimes it was like, "This is Linda from the bank. You're overdrawn. Are you still taking me out to dinner Friday?"
Yeah, and if you hear that theme song, you hear a lot of some of the same elements that you would hear in the A-Team's theme song. But in terms of the A-Team, that was the song that I would hear as a kid, and I would just go into full on like combat mode, jumping off the couch and
Well, the
running around.
song is actually better than the show.
Yes.
By the way, do you think it's funny? Because I was thinking about this, because I didn't have A-Team on my list, but it came to my mind, and I didn't use it because it was largely instrumental, and I wanted to be able to do song cues or lyrics as my intros. That being said, do you think, because as a kid, I can remember, I can't tell you much about remembering episodes of the A-Team, but I knew who Mr. T was at a stupidly young age.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do kids have anybody like that now? Like I can remember. I mean, you know, as far as it didn't matter if he was in Rocky, it didn't matter if he was in the A-Team. I was like,
I mean, honestly,
maybe The Rock.
He had his own cartoon. He had his own cereal.
Maybe The Rock.
it would honestly be The Rock or Robert Downey Jr. at this point.
Yeah, I
guess that's
think
true.
I don't even. Oh yeah, I guess Iron Man, maybe The Rock, or it's not many, and I don't know that The Rock has the cultural impact.
Oh.
I'm not taking anything away from The Rock.
The
Rock is much more talented than Mr. T.
I'm going to correct
Mr.
myself. Hold on, but before you say Mr. T, I do got to correct myself. There is a Mr. T composite in this age, John Cena.
But he doesn't have his own
so.
cereal.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
John
you're
Cena
right.
doesn't have
You're
his
right.
My kids have never watched wrestling in their lives that I know of, but my son will scream out John Cena for no reason, and I know why he does it. They did it on there was a stupid move you could get, a stupid
Fortnite.
type thing in Fortnite. and it was John Cena doing the whatever, or the where he does that.
Yeah.
You could get that as an expression you could buy for your Fortnite character to do. So my son will occasionally, every blue moon, just scream John Cena. I'm like, you have no
I
idea.
got to go with James on this, though, until I see John Cena flakes.
Well, I was going to say, because that's what I remember.
But in terms of kid appeal, John Cena has the same kid appeal that Mr. T did in terms of he's by far the number one person who grants the most Make-A-Wish Foundation wishes. He grants the most wishes. He's all about children. He's making sure kids.
I thought that was Kazam.
He was on a Scooby-Doo cartoon. I mean, just like. But anyway,
that's true.
Oddly enough, the lady who I work with, her stepdaughter loves John Cena too, because I got free tickets to Playing with Fire, and her stepdaughter thought it was going to her head explode. She told me later. I was like, really? She knows who that is? So maybe, but I still don't see the cultural impact like Mr. T.
I know. I don't think he has the cultural impact as Mr. T. I'm just saying, as in terms of a cultural equivalent to now, is John Cena. But anyway, so no, James, you were talking about Mr. T. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, well, Mr.
I think
T
we've talked about Mr. T enough.
Pity the fool who says we talked about Mr. T enough.
I'll say John Cena will have a longer career than or at least a longer lifespan.
You think Mr. T, though? I think Mr. T had comic books. He had that cartoon series where he helped the gymnastic team compete or whatever. I literally look it up. I'm not making it up. But
No,
you think it was also the fact that even Mr. T, when he had all the gold chains and everything, he was also a representation of an African American man that was also very Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was always. Yes, I mean, it was
anti-drug, and it was.
Yeah. And he pitied fools.
He pitied.
And actually,
it was the time he blew up at that time, at that right time.
And to his credit, he did his own voice on an episode. I think he did his own voice on the episode of Robot Chicken where he teamed up with the Foo Fighters because they fight foos, and he pity foos.
I pity foos.
And then at the end of the skit, you see Joe. He realizes that his life of violence makes him the foo, and then the Foo Fighters beat him up.
Are we ready for our next one?
Yeah, Joe, go for it.
Okay, well, mine is completely instrumental, but it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I still catch it. What?
Go.
He catches it as often as he does chlamydia. Did Joe
I screwed up and somehow.
I was going to say, why am I the only one talking?
Because I meant to hit something different. I'm so sorry to our listening audience. Anyway, that mine is completely instrumental, and I didn't know the name of it until I Googled it today to say, well, that's one of my favorite songs. I should get that. It's called The Street Beater. Chad, did I steal yours? What, Chad?
What's it from?
Did you look up the actual name of yours?
No.
Well, mine's The Street Beater, and it was written by Quincy Jones.
Oh, that's not it.
Yep, that's okay. I didn't think we'd have the same one. And it is the theme song to Sanford and Son. It was on his. There you go. I didn't think anybody else would have it.
I looked at it because I literally.
Album. It was on his album. You've Got a Bad Girl in '73. Of course, Sanford and Son premiered in '72, I think.
I didn't know that was the name of the song because I always thought
I didn't either.
I thought it was just always called.
Well, I do think that's one of those things that even if people don't know Sanford and Son, they probably do know a little bit. If I went and you start thinking about that, I think that's a little bit of a. What do you guys think?
Yeah, shut up, you big dummy.
Yeah. Which, oddly enough, I had a Big Dummy shirt, and then it got destroyed, and Chad gave me his, and I found it in the closet the other day, so I'm all excited about getting to wear it now. When I
found my Big Dummy, you got my Big Dummy T-shirt still?
I still have your Big Dummy T-shirt. So, other people recorded it. Henry James, who was a magician, who was a magician, recorded it in 1979. But I think that's fascinating that people covered the Street Beater, the Sanford and Son theme song.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Why would you?
It didn't reach the charts, but it did go to 294, which I guess Billboard doesn't necessarily acknowledge. But it is 9th in Rolling Stone Reader Poll of the television theme songs. That's number 9 of the most memorable that people love. It's the Street Beater from Sanford and Son. Now, if you don't know what Sanford and Son is, it was a show based on a British show because there was a couple of guys, Bud Yorkin and who was the other one?
No
Anybody
idea.
remember?
Nope.
All in the Family.
Oh yeah.
Go for it, Joe.
I forgot his name. I'm so glad he was He watched his
What? I'm sorry.
documentary.
I'm
He's
sorry.
in his 90s and he's still
Norman Lear.
Norman Lear. So Norman Lear and Bud Yorkin made a ton of money ripping off British television shows. And by ripping them off, they paid for them, brought them over here, and made them hugely successful.
Oh, by the way, see, I didn't know you were
All the Family is based on a show from Britain, FYI.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things. Like The Office. If you all don't know this, The Office was a show in Britain with Ricky Gervais beforehand, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you who quote it to me haven't a clue. Anyway, back to what I was saying. It's called Steptoe and Son. It was kind of the same premise. And what they did was hire a comedian who had done what we call Blue Records and been very successful working Blue for many, many years, called Red Fox. And it shot him to another level of popularity and everyone's home, which most people who, if you read much about Red Fox, would have never have guessed, because that was not necessarily Red Fox's humor.
No. Red Fox was a very blue comedian.
Anybody got a good Red Fox joke? I got one, but I don't know if I should tell it on here.
I don't think you should.
It's not bad or racist. It's just dirty. Anyway. So that one's mine, The Street Beater, Sanford and Son. I can't hear it, not smile.
James, what you got?
This is one that I literally the retro, as Joe said, citing our thing. The Retroist website did an entire collection of people doing covers of this theme because it is very niche. It's very minor. It was originally performed for the show by Leon Redbone. And if you don't know Leon Redbone, he was a jazz and blues musician, but he was known for comedically claiming that he wrote just about every song, or like he would be, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, I wrote this when I was on a drinking bench, like things that obviously predated him quite a bit. But as I said, I wanted to use lyrics to introduce these. Streaks on the china never mattered before. Who cares? When you drop kick your jacket as you came through the door, no one glared. But sometimes things get turned around and no one's spared. All hands look out below. There's a change in the status quo. Gonna need all the help that we can get. The song is called According to Our New Arrivals, and it was a theme song for the show Mr. Belvedere.
Dear.
Mr. Belvedere.
I had no idea what in the HE double fucking hockey sticks you were talking about till you said Mr. I don't think I've ever seen an episode of Mr. Belvedere.
I love Mr. Belvedere.
Also didn't watch Punky Brewster.
Retroist said it's one of the
or Blossom.
Things that remember Mr. Belvedere remember the theme song. And some people argue that's because the theme song itself is so iconic, maybe more than the show. Because outside of, and I'm blanking on the name of the gentleman that he played Mr.
Christopher Hewitt.
He was very iconic, but the show itself, Bob Uecker playing Bob Uecker.
But you know why Christopher Hewitt was mostly famous for? Sitting on his own balls.
Thanks, Chad. Anyway.
Well, it happens to everybody.
Here's why this is very, very, very iconic as a theme song.
How many varies was that?
It's varied.
But I tell you what.
There's a varied amount of varies. Go ahead, Chad.
Christopher Hewitt did care that day when he sat on his own balls.
That's great, Chad. Thank you for adding that to our
Was Bob Uecker there to make a ball analogy?
It's a little bit. Just a little
bit outside.
I think Bob Uecker's the one that is the reason why we have that story about Christopher Hewitt sitting on his own balls.
The interesting thing about this theme song is its pedigree. Because the people who wrote the theme song also wrote theme songs for other shows. Most notably, so it was written by Gary Portnoy and Judy Hart Angelo. Do those names
clear that up?
Portnoy said, yeah.
Portnoy and Angelo and Judy Hart Angelo wrote a song for another thing. They tried to write the theme to Cheers, and it was rejected. So they tried again. It was rejected. The third time, it worked. They wrote Where Everybody Knows Your Name.
Which is a song that's really depressing that people never hear the second part of.
If you hear the second part of it, and your husband wishes he was a girl,
Yeah, that's the part they never hear. It's like Suicide is Painless for MASH. They always hear just the instrumental.
If you hear the instrumental,
not that MASH
fine.
was on somebody. I'm sorry if I ruined it for everybody. But
No. But you're right. Suicide is Painless.
Suicide is Painless.
And they're like, oh, it sounds upbeat. And I'm like, listen.
Well, because they don't know the movie. The movie had the lyrics. They did the show, and the show is what everybody remembers. Not taking anything away. The movie's a classic film, but most people remember a lot of the show. And they just hear the instrument, which is great, but Suicide is Painless. It's right there if you sing along. Suicide is Painless.
It brings on
many changes, which was written by the director's son.
Leave it. I can take or leave it as I please. That's my favorite lyric from that song. That being said, Gary Portnoy is a fascinating cat because he wrote songs for Dolly Parton, including Say Goodnight. He wrote for Air Supply, I'll Never Get Enough of You. He also, like I said, wrote for...
I don't know either one of the songs you just said.
He wrote also... Joe,
I know Air Supply, but I didn't...
Joe, you gave away another one he wrote for. He also wrote the theme song for Punky Brewster. So Gary Portnoy and his writing partner, Judy Hart-Angelo, were just theme song writing machines. Like they did a lot of stuff. He took a hiatus for a while, but came back in 2007. He started releasing songs again, and he has released an album with nothing but, or the majority of songs being his TV theme. So Gary Portnoy and Judy Hart-Angelo. But Mr. Belvedere, I know Joe doesn't know it, but if you ever see Mr. As matter of fact, it's one of my favorite Family Guy gags, is just where Stewie is trying to watch Mr. Belvedere and something else is happening, and he goes, hey, trying to watch Mr. Belvedere over here. And they keep going, and he goes, really trying to watch Mr. And then he just starts screaming the theme song. Because that's all anybody knows from the show is theme song. And that's not an offense. Please, Mr. Euchre, don't come and beat me up. Here's Chad's address. Beat the hell out of him.
I will say the only episode I remember about Mr. Belvedere, and by the way, I agree with you. That's a great theme song. Didn't think about it, but yeah, that opening of that theme song, that just that.
It's really very.
Yeah, no, but is the one where the oldest son has started smoking, and Mr. Belvedere decides to teach him about the dangers of smoking by sitting him in a room and smoking nonstop.
But the episode that I remember, and this is
and then he sat on his own balls.
1980s television shows were permanently scarred, and Blossom capped this trend where every episode was a very special Blossom.
Yeah,
but I do remember the episode of Mr. Belvedere where the younger son goes to camp and he gets touched by the counselor. And by the way, it's 80s touch, so like he gives him a massage or something.
Yeah.
I don't like that, and he has to report it. And I remember that because it was like on a very special Mr. Belvedere. And I was like, I was wondering why nobody was giving me shoulder rubs.
I was about to say, is he passing out shoulder rubs because...
Joe's got a kink.
I'm a little bit tense.
I realized as I was older, I'm like,
I do have a kink. He's right. Well spoken, sir. I do have a kink.
Shut up,
that
you
episode,
big dummy.
I realized, of course, later as I grew up, I'm like, oh, they couldn't show what it would have actually been because it's 1980 sitcom. But
nor does anybody really want to see that at 8:30 on ABC, NBC, CBS, wherever that show.
Now that's totally a Fox show.
That's a Fox show. All right, next. All right.
So this is my favorite theme song of all time. It's completely instrumental, but it was my number one pick when we decided to do this topic, and I can't not pick it.
Suicide is Painless.
No, I thought Joe was getting ready to steal it from me. And bow, bow, bow. Any familiar?
Night Court?
There you go. Night Court. Every time I hear that theme song, I get a smile from ear to ear.
Is Night Court streaming on anything?
Not to my aware. Not that
That's
I'm aware
another
of.
one that just.
It's on MeTV.
But for $400, Richard Mole will stream on you. Wait.
Well, he probably will do Cameo cheaper than that. And if you don't know what Cameo is, Google it.
Yeah.
And we'll start doing Cameo if somebody tells us they want us to.
Christy has asked me more than once, and I keep saying, I don't think anybody's going to pay for that, but keep going.
No, so yeah, Night Court is quintessential for me in terms of theme songs. Like as soon as we said we were going to do this, or when I came up with the idea of doing theme songs, I'm like, that's the one I want to talk about. So I looked up the guy who did it. It was written and composed by Jack Elliott. who won the BMI TV Music Award. I don't know what that
Body
award
Mass Index.
Yeah.
He won the Body Mass Index Award.
According
Too
to my
big or
doctor, mine's
small?
too high.
A little too high. That son of a bitch beat me.
But apparently this was a big award in the 80s. He won for the Night Court theme song for 3 years running from 1987 to 1989. Jack Elliott was actually brought to Hollywood by Judy Garland, who wanted him to become who wanted him to become the arranger for her TV show. He also wrote the
Put that chair over there.
That joke, we shouldn't.
Hold on, once again, as the kids say, that joke slaps.
Oh, he co-wrote the theme song to Barney Miller and Charlie's Angels. He also scored numerous movies, including The Jerk, Oh God, and Support Your Local Gunfighter.
Barney Miller that is similar. I was actually sitting thinking about Barney Miller beforehand. Now you're saying it. Okay.
Yeah.
Support Your Local Sheriff. He did the music for that.
Yep.
It's actually one of my favorite comedies. It's one of my favorite comedy westerns. We should do comedy westerns.
You didn't hear me say? I thought you. Yeah. He was the creator of the Henry Mancini Institute, and he was co-founder of the American Jazz Philharmonic. He was the music director for the Academy Awards, Emmy Awards, and the 1984 Summer Olympics. And more importantly, he was the director of the Grammy Awards for 30 straight years.
But the biggest achievement was his body mass index.
His biggest achievement was the Night Court.
His BMI. His BMI. That's what he'll stand on.
So just Night Court, if you don't know the show, at least look up the theme song.
And just also, I mean, you should know it just for the male torment.
Yeah.
John Astin cameos.
No, that's true.
Because, I'm all better now.
I'm telling you. Tarantino said once on Saturday Night Live, you knew it was going to be a good Bewitched if Uncle Arthur showed up.
Yeah.
You knew it was going to be a fantastic Night Court if John Astin, who played his father, showed up.
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
By the way, you can follow on Twitter Marcia Warfield. Is that?
Yeah.
She is a delight to follow. If you're on Twitter, follow her because she very much is like her character and says what she thinks, and it is entertaining.
Her character that was the third person to play that character.
Well, I'm not saying she kept killing off the others.
The second or third? She's a third.
She was a third. There were
two older ladies.
They both died.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then came Roz.
And then came Roz. Why wasn't that a spinoff? And then came Roz.
I can't believe none of you have picked Maude yet.
No. But no, I mean, and when he goes,
Lady Godiva was a freedom fighter.
I really thought, Joey, I thought you were going to pick this one from me.
Didn't even occur to me.
But no, but when it goes da 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 tap tap tap, it just every fiber of my being I just get giddy every time I hear it. Like, and it will make me stop and watch the show. Which, by the way, the show is fantastic. But yeah, so Night Court's my favorite theme song of all time.
Mine is weird. Mine is odd. Mine has nothing to do with the show, but it's one of my favorite shows of all time. Technically a spinoff of another show that's considered a classic. My song is Tossed Salads and Scrambled Eggs. They're calling me again.
Performed by the actor.
Kelsey Grammer for Frasier. Now, why is the song Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs? I had to look it up. Okay, so former Frasier writer Ken Levine tracked down Bruce Miller, the composer of the sitcom's theme song, and asked him to explain those, and this is all from Vulture if you want to look it up, those puzzling, possibly salacious lyrics. Levine came through. His response: I was told to avoid any direct references to specific subject matter, so it was necessary to stay away from words about psychiatry, road shows, radio shows, the name, Frasier, anything else directly indicating aspects of the show. So I called my friend Daryl Finesse, who is really talented and really smart, and I gave him the idea of the show, and he called back and said, toss salads and scrambled eggs. At first, I was a bit baffled myself until he explained that these were things that were mixed up, like Frasier Crane's patience. That is how we got tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Now, the other thing that you were talking about.
All over my face. By the way,
all over my face. What a boy to do. The other thing. Good night, Seattle. Okay, anyway, now I'm just doing all the lyrics. The other thing that I find fascinating, James, you're talking, James or Chad, I can't remember who it was earlier about, they would always change. Oh, the Rockford Files. So one of the great things, if you ever get a chance, if you're a Frasier fan, is to track down the people on the phone. Oftentimes the show started with a crazy caller or someone who was having issues.
Right.
Almost all those people are celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
It ranges from everyone from Stephen King to, I can't think of someone else right now other than Stephen King. But I remember the one night I heard Stephen King, I was like, holy shit, because it was the first time as a kid, well, I guess I was a young man, I realized, oh, those are celebrities. That's totally Stephen King. Didn't know it. All of them. So at the end of the season, oftentimes they'd have a list that would run of all the different celebrities that did the voices that year for the radio call-in for Frasier. Also, Frasier, to me, oh, I may burn in hell for this one. I prefer it to Cheers.
Oh, I do too.
I do too.
And it has aged way better than Cheers.
It has aged slightly better than Cheers. I've watched Cheers. Don't get me wrong. I still like Cheers. But it's, if you told me I had the choice between a great Christmas, Frasier had some of the best Christmas episodes of any show of all time. They did one almost every Christmas. I have the DVD over here. And if you told me I had a good Lilith or Christmas episode as opposed to one of the best, I would pick Frasier every single time.
By the way, Joe, just to go back to your point, since you blanked after Stephen King, famous call-in people include, and it's too long a list for me to read all of.
Oh, you can't, because it was, every season it was different people.
But just for pop culture icons, let's go with that. Linda Hamilton, Christopher Reeve, Joe Mantegna, Jeff Daniels, Robert Klein, Carl Reiner, Jay Leno, Ben Stiller, Rosemary Clooney, Elijah Wood, Timothy Leary. That's one I'm going to have to find out what episode he called in on, because please let it be one about taking drugs. But there's tons of them, and that's just the ones that are in the beginning of the alphabet. Mary Tyler Moore. There were tons of other ones. So yeah.
Frasier to me, and I didn't know. Actually, I thought you all agreed with me, but I wasn't for sure. And I've argued this point before, and I think it may be that some people see it as elitist or highbrow, but I don't know that I feel that way at all, because I think they're both. It's about educated folks who sometimes use educated ways of talking, but they're still just as stupid as everyone else. Miles is just as dumb as everyone else. Frasier makes just as many stupid mistakes. John Mahoney as his father was a fantastic character actor who never really got his due.
It is the same premise, not the same premise, but it's the same mentality that I have when I watch something like Beverly Hillbillies, because it's the same thing. It's, Beverly Hillbillies makes fun of poor people. Really? Who comes out on the top at the end of every episode?
The Hillbillies, every time.
Their logic, their most direct, and it's the same thing.
They're always the honest, open, good folk.
And it's the people that try to con them and do all that stuff. And I think Frasier works the same way to say, and it's funny to me that Frasier, when he's back in Seattle, is all highbrow and talks about how his dad drinks beer. Mm-hmm. Watch Cheers. What was he drinking 6 months before? And it's that comedy of place. Seattle has to be more highbrow.
There's Boston, a fantastic, they dealt with it more than once. And one of the great episodes, well, it's not a great episode, but one of the really good episodes is when he was bullied by someone in school who comes over and is a plumber and has to do some work on his apartment or his condo or whatever. And turns out that guy's driving a BMW as well. That guy's just as successful. You know why? Because plumbers who are certified make what? Pretty good money.
I had some work done.
And it smacks the shit out of him. There's an episode where he has to take dog food back, and so he has a dirty shirt. And there's more than one episode where the people behind Frasier took that on.
Well, and I was about to say, and that's it. So I think it's also just a comedy. Like, if you look at Frasier as an evolution of a character, I mean, it is all commentary on when he's in Boston, he wants to blend in there, so he's drinking beer at the bar. He goes back to Seattle and he's drinking champagne and wine. And so I think when you look at the evolution of that character, it's a great commentary on class and what class means depending on where you are.
Also, David Hyde Pierce is a national treasure.
I literally could watch him do, and that's one of my favorite things when The Simpsons got him to play Cecil, Sideshow Bob's brother.
Cecil,
I'm sorry. Cecil.
Oh, don't call it Cecil. Cecil. And David Hyde Pierce is in if you're into horror, it's not really a horror film. It's in a fantastic low budget little movie called The Perfect Host.
I love The Perfect Host.
I do too.
It's very low budget, but he carries the whole damn movie. And it's fantastic.
And it's completely compelling because at your first you're like, oh man, this guy doesn't know what is coming, and then literally not giving anything away. Within 30 minutes, you're like, oh my god, this other
poor son of a bitch.
The one a few times when I'm like, please, guy who threatens everybody, I hope you make it out of this.
Hope you make it out of this. Oh yeah, The Perfect Host, which also has a theme song at the end of it, which is something we should talk about later in movies. Yeah. All right. So that was mine. I don't know if you all expected that one or not, but
I'm glad you told that story because I love that theme song because it does have that kind of band, but I never knew the story myself. There you go.
I didn't know. I thought it was. Yeah. All right, James.
We've danced around this one, but we've got to acknowledge it, or I have to, because it's one of my all-time favorite shows.
Suicide is the.
What now?
Is Suicide is Painless?
No.
If I say it many times, I mean.
But we talked about Norman Lear, and you've got to acknowledge the impact of Those Were the Days. Boy, the way Glenn Miller played, songs that made the hit parade, Guys Like Us, We Had It Made.
Those were the days.
And you knew who you were then.
Boys are boys and men. No, girls are girls and men were men. And by the way, that's even sexist. It's girls and men. It's not women.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, and I think some people are, the language and the thing. I'm like, no, I think Archie Bunker is as relevant now as he ever was.
Oh, Archie Bunker is more relevant now than ever.
But I think the reason that show was such a big hit, and
it still exists.
I had a professor say this, and I was like, yeah, that's true. Because I never was, and no offense meant to anybody that is, it just wasn't my thing. I was more of a Daria guy. I never was big Beavis and Butthead fans because I went to school with those people, and I didn't care for it either. I actually didn't enjoy it until I watched the movie, and I enjoyed the movie. And I had an English professor. This is true, and he in class said, "Well, using Beavis and Butthead as an example," and he goes, "Wait, is there anybody here that's not a Beavis?" And I raised my hand. He goes, "Why not?" And I was like, "Because I really did. I don't think it's funny." And he said, "Okay, well, watch it again and watch it with this view. For people that are dumb, they watch it and be like, they say what they think. And for people that watch it and think, oh, those guys are immature jerks, they watch it and be like, they're funny because they're." And he goes, Mike Judge is bloody brilliant because people are going to watch it going, they like Metallica, woo. And then the other people are watching going, these guys are idiots, but they're funny. And I was like, and it's the same thing. All in the Family, you had people that would watch, be like, Archie's right, America, blah, blah, blah. And then you had people that are like, yeah, no, we need, and it worked because no matter who you were, you could find somebody to identify in the show. But that theme song was written by Lee Adams, Charles Strouse, and Roger Kellaway. Lee Adams and Charles Strouse were writing partners. And so the true story of how that song came together is an accident. Have you ever heard this story, Joe or Chad? I know. Norman Lear. All in the Family is a fascinating story because All in the Family should have been canceled the first year too. The studio they didn't want to put any money into it, and that's why we got that theme song. Norman Lear originally wanted like an orchestra and all of that stuff for an intro, and the studio or the network, whoever came back and said, "You blew your money. You are getting nothing else from us." And they had a piano there, and he said, "Screw it. We're gonna have a song." And so he found, that Lee and Strauss had wrote These Are the Days. He paid for the rights to it. And the fact that iconic scene of them playing the piano, they filmed it. And if you're a fan and you don't watch where they've edited it for TV and just use the same one, every season it changes a little bit. Archie's shirt changes, different things, and his response to Edith changes. By the time you get to the 6th season, he looks away when Edith looks at him and does that big smile. I don't know that I knew that, James. I didn't know that either. Yeah, you can read the full story about how it does, and it usually kind of let you know where they were. Like if Archie was going to be mad about Nixon for that season or whatever, that Nixon was impeached. So they played around with because Archie was, who Archie was. That being said, Lee Adams and Charles Strouse were huge writers. They wrote Chad's favorite musical of all time, It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. They wrote the Annie musical. they wrote. They did a show with Mel Brooks, the All American, which was the book was by Mel Brooks. The lyrics were by Adams. It wasn't a huge success, but it actually has the song "Once Upon a Time," which later became famous. And it was recorded by Perry Como, Eddie Fisher, Al Martino, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin. So these people had real writing chops. But the reason that this song probably is most important is even if you've never seen an episode of All in the Family, you've seen the impact of it. The Simpsons has 3 times updated this for different episodes. Once in 1997, they did again, where they did a flashback and had them singing it. And then Family Guy is nothing but the intro to Family Guy is nothing but an homage to All in the Family. And right. Seth MacFarlane has acknowledged as much. So, this idea that with All in the Family, there were the lyric of we could use a man like Herbert Hoover again. We see the same thing. It seems today that all you see is violence and sex on TV. Where are those good? So it's the same sort of message. And so the All in the Family theme of those were the days. It is an important theme song for television. So I had to include it. And if you've never seen All in the Family, there are some things in it that are dated, but the comedy there and the family comedy about, as someone that you marry into a family and this
I just don't know how dated All in the Family is.
No, the references are dated. Nixon ain't in office anymore, Joe.
No,
I don't know what Watchmen world you're living in.
Yeah,
but but as far as everything else and the battle over gun control, it's one of my dad's favorite lines. Okay, so if you've never seen the show, his daughter, who he calls little girl, played by Sally Struthers, is going, Daddy, do you know how many people were killed last year by guns? And she says whatever the actual number was for that year. And he literally just turns around and goes, I'm sorry, honey. Would you rather than be pushed out of windows? It's a great line.
Yeah, when Carol O'Connor delivers it, it's hilarious.
And so no, I wanted to do that. I have a ton of honorable mentions, so I don't know if you want to do another round. Or
I don't have another round, but if you guys want to do your honorable mentions, let's do that because I only have one other.
James, you go first, man.
Well, I'll do another one because this is actually one that I think is really important.
Is this your honorable mention or another round?
I'm going to do another one because it's really important because it shows how important a musical theme is to a television show.
What is it?
It is Secret Agent Man, which has been reused in tons of movies. It was originally the theme song for Danger Man / Secret Agent. Why does it have 2 titles? Because it was Danger Man in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Patrick McGoohan played Danger Man. Well, when they brought it over to America, they were like, Danger Man, what does that mean? Secret agents are big right now. Just call it Secret Agent. They redid it with Secret Agent. They enlisted somebody to perform the song. They enlisted Johnny Rivers.
Johnny Rivers.
Johnny Rivers was, and so they said, we need a theme. We're bringing it over from England. We're just going to rerun it. We got it cheap. Johnny Rivers turns out Secret Agent Man. And if you've ever seen Austin Powers, that song's used in Austin Powers. They do it during one of the chase scenes. Why did I say it's something I had to mention for a TV theme? Well, here's the actual case for that. So they brought it over from England, redubbed it and called it Secret Agent Man or Secret Agent. Gave it the Secret Agent Man theme. That song became a stupidly huge hit. So much so that Danger Man had been canceled. But because it was such a big hit in America, the American stations basically went back and going, listen, we'd love to have more of it. It had been off the air for a year. They resurrected it. And so it ended up running from 1964 to 1968 again. And most importantly, it is that popularity got Patrick McGoohan more credit. And it became the unofficial, if you watch the way that Secret Agent Man ended, it became the unofficial prequel for the show The Prisoner.
Oh, I didn't know that. I've actually never seen The Prisoner. You
need to watch The Prisoner. I want to watch it again.
Yeah, I've watched a few shows. The bizarreness is amazing.
So in the end, McGoohan left. It became such a big hit that he chose to leave. They weren't going to cancel it. He chose to leave to do The Prisoner because he liked the idea of a secret agent trying to disappear And that's, by the way, for those that don't know The Prisoner, it's about a secret agent that wants to retire. They won't let him retire. And so he tries to retire, and then he wakes up on an island because secret agents are allowed to retire. So that's why some people say it works as an unofficial prequel to The Prisoner, and given that McGowan played the main role in both. But that being said, if you've never seen it, the opening lyrics are, "There's a man who leads a life of danger. To everyone he meets, he stays a stranger. With every move he makes, another chance he takes, odds are he won't live to see tomorrow. Beware of pretty faces that you find. A pretty face can hide an evil mind."
I think they get it.
Anyway, but
all right.
No, so because we can't talk about TV theme shows without pointing out that the theme song of that show led to more seasons when it came over to America.
All right, Chad, honorable mentions.
Okay, so let me go through the list. So Scooby-Doo, I know is important to you. It didn't have that.
Did you mean for that to rhyme?
No, I didn't actually.
Scooby-Doo, important to you.
But in terms of Hanna-Barbera, it didn't have the cultural impact that it did for me that it did you. Another Hanna-Barbera cartoon did. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, faster than the human eye.
That really made Scatman's career.
This was another one I struggled with, while I went with DuckTales, but Animaniacs.
They're totally insane.
The Transformers theme song, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as an actual song is way better than Transformers.
Yes. But again, it was just those are theme songs, and I struggled with, again, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I wanted to put on my list, but I wanted to talk about the A-Team a little bit more. Squidbillies.
Oh, that's
my dreams are all dead and
buried.
Sometimes I wish the sun would just explode.
So that's my animation chunk. But we also Different Strokes Today. That was another one. This one falls into the theme song, in my opinion, is more popular than the show. I've actually never seen an episode of the show, but I can sing the theme song because, believe it or not,
I almost think so too. I think you're absolutely right. That and the Great American Hero.
The Greatest American Hero.
For, the Billy Joel song for Bosom Buddies. Yeah. I think is another one where people know the song and they don't know Bosom Buddies. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yep. I can't think of the name of the song. I'm so sorry I didn't Google it, but that's another one of those I think people know more than they do this show.
A call back to a previous episode. I love the Johnny Bago theme song, written by Jimmy Buffett. And then finally, and you can't talk about TV theme songs without talking about this one. Now, so this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down.
It was on my honorable mentions.
I'd like to take a minute. You just sit right there and tell you how I became the Prince of Bel-Air. Prince of a town called Bel-Air, sorry. I know the lyrics by my head. I know the lyrics
by my head.
Written
on the wall.
No, I know the lyrics in my head.
To do this,
but I'm so nervous.
I was gonna fall.
But I'm so nervous when I talk.
Oh no,
I have to have the scripts, so I have them right here. But till this day, I sung it as a kid. I still sing it to this day. Every now and then, I'll walk around and go, "My life got flipped, turned upside down."
I do not.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
That's okay.
My playground was
talking about.
Where I spent most of my days, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, all shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
I can do this all day. In your arm outside of school.
When a couple of guys who were up to no good.
Yeah, I think you're good, Chad. Is there any more?
James, they started making trouble in my neighborhood. Yeah. I got one little fight, and my mom got scared, and she said, "You're moving with your auntie and uncle and off in Elmdale."
I do not have an attachment.
I whistled for a cab, and when it came near, the license plate said fresh, and it had dice in the mirror.
It's in the mirror, yeah. So, yeah, no. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, in terms of theme songs, you have to talk about that one. So that's my honorable mentions.
What's your honorable mention, and then I'll finish this up, Joe?
I only have one, and I didn't bother to look it up who wrote it because I wasn't really going to talk about it. But it's another one of those things that I watched on TBS growing up, and I loved it, right along with Sanford and Son. It's also instrumental. It's the whistling at the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah. It's called The Fishing Hole. take down, and it does have lyrics. They just didn't use them for the show. It's take down your fishing pole, meet me at the fishing hole.
That's good that they didn't use them. It's like the lyrics that Johnny Cash did for Bonanza don't necessarily work.
Everyone will start the light if we start a little fight. Bonanza.
No.
Oh,
by the way, Bonanza also has a great instrumental theme.
My honorable mentions has the best example of lyrics for a song. Thank God they didn't use for the theme.
But real quick, Andy Griffith's show is really important to me. I've gotten to the age now where nobody on my house, Christy she didn't watch it. You guys, well, James a little bit, but Chad not so much. So it has a near and dear place. Some of the episodes in the Andy Griffith show stand the test of time better. Dude, they are still and family friendly, humorous shows that are fascinating and at the same time have a message, which I'm not big into messages, but a lot of times they do have a message. A lot of the times the message is if Andy just stopped lying, his life would be easier. I don't know. He lies all the time.
What are we having for dinner, Paul?
Well, you're having fried chicken and mashed, but I don't remember exactly, and I'm having crow.
That's, by the way, the fact we can do that line back and forth. But
I think you had to have a certain upbringing, and that's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just certain people. So I just got that a lot, and you got a lot of Star Trek. I got a lot of Andy Griffith in it.
Oh, I got Andy Griffith
a lot of Western. So Andy Griffith show is still one of my favorite shows of all time, and to hear it is iconic. To hear the whistle, I think, is iconic for a lot of people.
But you know what, Joe?
What?
I pulled up to the house about 7 or 8 and yelled to the cabin, "Yo, home, smell you later."
I don't think smell you later is as icon.
I looked at my kingdom. I was finally there to sit on my throne.
He's reading it, folks. I can see his eyeballs.
I am reading it because I can't. If I wasn't being recorded, I would say it off the top of my head. I'm being recorded, so I have to.
All right, James, you got a list of 5,600.
I do, but this is the one I put it on my list and I saved it to the very end because I knew one of you all was going to take it, and I don't know how you all didn't take it.
What?
Because if you threw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say,
"Thank you for being a friend, Dick."
That song,
The Golden Girls is one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm always defending it on here, but here's
the problem. Nobody's arguing with you. You're just mad.
Yeah, you've
argued with me about the Golden Girls before.
I'm not arguing with it. I just said I don't have a personal attachment to it.
I do have a personal attachment to it because I went to the Rose Nylund School of Storytelling.
I think the Golden Girls is one of those shows that I still see quite a bit in pop culture.
Oh, actually,
no.
Whereas I don't know that I see Andy Griffith and Sanford and Son, the other two I've talked about. I think Golden Girls, the blue humor has kept up with the times.
Yeah,
it's no empty nest.
Shut up.
I did like Empty Nest at the time. Richard Mulligan, unappreciated character actor.
The Golden
Married
Girls,
a porn star later in life, by the way. Google that.
Thank You for Being a Friend was written by Andrew Gold, performed by Cynthia Fee for the show.
Richard
Andrew
Mulligan
Gold,
married a porn star. Google it.
Andrew Gold.
Hold on, I've almost said Barbara Bush run over a guy, but it was Laura.
Okay, that's more believable. I thought you said Andrew. Never mind.
Hold on. We'll do a Family Guy. Take some time. Google Richard Mulligan porn star marriage.
We'll wait.
TikTok. We'll wait. You back?
Okay, we're going
you
back?
All right, go.
Andrew Gold is the one that wrote Thank You for Being a Friend. I want to bring this up, though, because he also wrote for another TV show that's came up on this podcast before. He wrote the song Final Frontier, which was the theme for Mad About You. He also wrote, by the way, Thank You for Being a Friend. He didn't write for Golden Girls. He wrote it long before, and they paid him for it. He had recorded it years before. He also wrote a song that my kids know, which shocked me, Spooky Scary Skeletons. Which had the sing-along Disney Halloween special. It's on there.
Don't know that one.
But anyway, he died at 59, by the way, of kidney cancer. So my other honorable mentions, Chad sold one of them. I wanted to do an entire section about theme songs that pretty much tell the story like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air does. And for that, I wanted to talk about WKRP in Cincinnati.
Well,
The opening song
Yeah.
tells the story. If you've never seen an episode before, listen to the theme. Dude moves to Cincinnati because he's tired of being bounced everywhere, station to station, and he finds a station that will hire him permanently. That's the plot. If you've ever wondered what became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati.
Yep.
WKRP.
WK.
That's a good one.
And then Fresh Prince of Bel Air. And the last one I want to do is a show that nobody remembers, but I think my mother had the theme song, and it wasn't just that theme song. It's a collection of theme songs, it was a collection of country music songs, but it happened to have this on it, and I remember playing it on record. And record, Chad, was big CDs.
Are you going to do the Fall Guy?
I'm going to do the Fall Guy.
Sorry.
How can you not do the Fall Guy? Because it's a great.
I had a friend in college, Chad did too, who would listen to that.
The Fall Guy theme is the same way. It sets up the story. He's a stunt man. He's a fall guy. And then he's also, to make extra money because he doesn't make enough getting hurt at work, he also is a bounty hunter. And the lyrics are, I'm not saying to tits and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah, which is funny. I've been, let's see, I've never been with anyone less than a 9, so fine. I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone fast with a girl named Bo. And if you're from this time period, you know all these people, but somehow they don't end up as mine. It's a death-defying life I lead. I'll take my chances. I've died for a living on movies and TV, but the hardest thing I've ever do is watching my leading ladies kiss some other guy while I'm bandaging my knee. I might fall from a tall building. I might roll a brand new car because I'm the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star. And the story behind that is it wasn't written for the show. The show was written for the song.
Huh.
Somerville, it's written by Dave Somerville. David Somerville's song, The Ballad of the Unknown Stuntman, was jointly written and composed with Jensen, inspired by Glenn Larson, who had been doing, Glenn Larson was a vocalist for them at one point for a song, and he was like, I'd like to do a show, and they were listening to songs, and he said, oh, that sounds cool. And the song itself is called The Unknown Stuntman. The show was The Fall Guy. But it's another one of those songs that the song tells you what the show. So it doesn't matter if you only come in the second season. By the way, I didn't know for a show nobody talks about anymore.
There's 5 seasons. I Googled it while you were talking. I had
5
no
seasons
idea.
of The Fall Guy. I haven't seen it on television. I think USA, for a brief period of time in the 90s, ran it during the summers at 11 a.m. or something. Like, we just need to put something on the air. And I remember watching it again then, but that was in the 90s. If you've never heard of The Fall Guy, that exactly what I said is what it's about. He's a stuntman on film sets, and then at night he is a bounty hunter. And it's a stupidly fun show for about 30 minutes. But Glenn Larson also linked to some other shows that we've talked about.
If you're into vehicles, he had a really cool GMC truck.
Yeah, which was often part of the plot because
Yep.
he would use special effects to make it do stuff, or he would jump it, or to help catch bad guys and all of that stuff. But yes, I wanted to end with The Fall Guy because I remember that theme so well, and I can't tell you more than about 4 episodes.
So we got to talk about how I'm kind of shocked James did not pick the Star Trek theme song.
Oh, thanks for reminding me, Chad, because remember how I said I'd talk about the song that thank God they didn't use the lyrics for?
Yeah.
See, do you know the story about this? Seriously?
No.
Gene Roddenberry was so convinced that it wasn't going to make money, that Star Trek would never make money, that when they were writing the theme song, Alexander Courage got hired to write the theme song. And unbeknownst to Alexander Courage, he turned in his musical composition, and Gene Roddenberry wrote lyrics for it. So he would get 50% of all profit from the music. I'd like to take this time. So the intro would have been the same, Space, the Final Frontier. But instead of the, these would have been the lyrics. Beyond the rim of starlight, my love is wandering in starflight. I know he'll find in star-clustered reaches love, strange love a star woman teaches. I know his journey never ends on forever. But tell him, will he wander his starry sea? Remember me.
That's all.
Now, Roddenberry had no plan of that actually using, but he knew if he wrote the lyrics, the deal with the studio was, hey, if it's got lyrics, we pay the lyric person, but you have to divide the profit. Alexander Courage. Again, this was all done without Courage knowing he was going to do it. Never filed any litigation or anything. But later on, before Courage passed away, he was asked about it, and he said he said, "I do consider it unethical. However, when I approached Roddenberry about it, Roddenberry had this quote: 'Hey, I have to get some money somewhere. I'm sure as hell not going to get it out of the profits of Star Trek.'" Again, that was all before it aired. But if you've never heard, and there is a recording somewhere, you can find it online usually, with this, because it had to be performed at least once. So yes, you can find it. But again, I don't know if the show would have been as popular if it would have had that song.
No.
I mean, because the space, the Final Frontier is it pulls you in, and then you get the theremin. But I don't know if we need these lyrics over that theremin.
I do have a question for you too, and it's a bit of a controversial one, and I don't know that it's a pick, although I'm a fan of the artist. But we didn't talk about one of the really famous theme songs, but it's a show that even in the last few years has just been buried more and more under the carpet for a lot of reasons. And we're talking the Dukes of Hazzard theme song.
I almost made my list because I think that the Dukes of Hazzard.
Waylon Jennings. That is a song, and that is a song that's oftentimes better than the show. Now, I'm not picking on the show. I wasn't a fan of the show.
I grew up watching it.
I grew up watching it a little bit as a child, but never particularly moved on to this. Probably like with Knight Rider for me. I wouldn't want to sit around and watch Knight Rider either. No offense to anybody.
No, but I think that the song itself, I think it's interesting. You can separate that song from the show to a point, even though. Because I still hear it played on.
And I think that's a one that people would think, why didn't you bring that up?
96.1, the local radio station, plays country classic, and they will play that song in their rotation. And every time I'm like, oh yeah.
I like the song too. I'm a fan of Waylon Jennings. I'm not a huge fan.
If I'm not mistaken, and somebody can check me on this, but I believe the song you hear on the radio. Because originally he just wrote the intro, and for those that have never seen the show, Waylon Jennings was also the narrator.
He was the balladeer.
Duke Boy's going to get it this time. They best grow wings and fly.
He was called balladeer.
Balladeer, you're right. But if you listen to the theme song, the second set of lyrics, I think those were added when they wanted to do it.
Well, that song's got a lot of fluff when you listen to it on the radio version too. It's got a lot of that Waylon go hey throughout it.
Well, but the second verse is, my mama wants to know why they're always showing my hands and not my face on TV. Because as a balladeer, they never showed his face. Mm-hmm. And I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, internet land, but that's not a real place. Anyway, that version was recorded after the first season became somewhat of a hit.
I would imagine.
And then,
I don't know.
I think so. I think if you,
I just wanted to bring it up towards the end to get your thoughts.
The song's too good not to live on, and I'll be honest. Outside of the icon of the iconography, I can't say that word for some reason. But anyway, outside of the symbolism,
outside of the damn rebel flag on the General Lee, and the car was
by the way,
General
Lee.
If you're following the news story, it looks like that's going to be removed from a certain state's flag. The governor
it's called Mississippi. He said he'd support it if the legislation went through.
He's got to wait till it gets to his desk. But which is also, by the way, FYI, there's already an alternative flag. It's called the Stinson flag. Look it up. It's been designed for a couple of years. Anyway, all of that being said, that's one of those things that I know we got a movie a few years ago directed by the guy, the brilliant mind.
But I thought the movie handled that part of it decently.
Well, and I think that's the entire thing. Could you do a Dukes of Hazzard movie now? I would say yes. It's about the car. Call the car something else. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's about jumping.
I got to get in, Martha. I got to jump Martha. I'm going to jump Martha so hard. Martha, rev Martha up. I'm going to rev. Yeah, I could
write
jokes for the next hour and a half.
That's what I mean.
Hold on. Jokes.
Oh, fuck you. Lube, I've got to give Martha a lube job. I'm going to go check Martha's oil. Hey, I'm going to put this dipstick right into Martha.
I don't think Jack can fit all the way in Martha.
Has anybody checked out Martha's rear end?
But no, I think
you got the pause attraction.
I think the show itself is very much of its time, but I think you could totally update that show and just remove the symbolism, because the symbolism never was part of the show, really. I mean,
Yeah, it was just there.
I haven't watched the show.
It was trying to make it as country as possible.
Yeah,
I haven't watched the show in so long, I don't have a clue. And I know people who loved the show hated the movie. I actually didn't care for that much for the show, and actually kind of enjoyed the movie because it's very silly. It's a silly movie.
I would agree with Joe on this one.
well, and that's the entire thing. And that's the problem with this is that even in the 1970s, it's fun to watch, whatever. But even then, people would have realized they would have got caught like 20 minutes in, right? Like, there's no way. Oh, they jumped something. We'll call the state troopers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been. So the entire thing's kind of farcical. But that being said, I think the premise, if you wanted to do a Dukes of Hazzard now about the Duke boys, two people with the last name Duke, remove all that imagery, you could still do the same jokes. You could still do everything else. So I say all that to say, burying that show is weird to me. The theme is iconic. The car is iconic. I don't know if the icon on top of the car is why that car is iconic. It's iconic because most of the time, if you watched it on TV, you just saw the bottom of it.
It is
you
for
saw
some
the
people.
bottom. Well, I know, and I know the guy that played your favorite character of Cooter. He went off online and he still sells images and everything with it. But if
John Schneider is a big defender of it too.
If you watch,
Duke. I don't ask me why this came into my
how does
review, but it was last week, and I thought, and then it led into one of, if anybody's familiar, if you're catching this on a YouTube hole or something where you just click on one thing and move on, it led down to a John Schneider YouTube hole where I thought, he's starting to get a little, anyway.
But how did Coy and Vance feel, the real Dukes?
He did.
Anyway, there's 4 people that are going to be like, I see what he did. Anyway,
for a half a season, he did it.
Even before the
we're getting off topic.
It's been a controversy for a long time. But even before the controversy, if you go back, I think it's probably been about 10 years ago, Hallmark made a Christmas ornament of the General Lee.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at it, because I can remember when it came out, I'm like, well, that's going to be, how is Hallmark going to, if you can find it, it's the General Lee jumping through a billboard, and it's halfway through the billboard, and conveniently the ripped billboard covers the roof of the car.
Of the General Lee, yeah.
And I was like, well played, Hallmark. Still all the the symbolism.
We could get the racist money and not piss off the other folk.
Yep. And I was like, well played, Hallmark. But no, as far as the theme song, I listened to.
We got off a little bit of a tangent, but I don't regret asking the question because I think it's one of those great theme songs, and I was wondering if anybody'd bring it up.
Because they're making their way.
The only way they know how. And that's we just can rattle it off.
Then the law will allow.
Ha!
The
Seriously,
law,
go back and listen to it. As soon as we're done with the show, take 2 minutes and listen to the Waylon Jennings as he goes through it.
While sitting on
filling time.
While sitting on his balls.
The mountain may get them, Joe.
But the law never will. All right, and with that
note,
thank you all so much. If you have criticisms, please send them to James Thomas. Dr.
And that's
James
care
Thomas
of Chad Jennings.
University of Alabama. The great Crimson Tide, James Thomas.
Where I go by the name Bear Bryant. Just ask for Bear Bryant.
Just say, I want to talk to that son of a bitch, Bear Bryant.
And make sure you show up in person at Alabama when you say that.
On Secret Agent Man. And would they talk to you?
We did 16 different references there. Try to catch them all.
Catch them all if you can, just like the Pokemons. All right, thank you all. Tune in and share. Toodles.